Okay. Fantastic. Well, hope you had a good discussion before the break there and cuppa, and you're feeling relaxed and ready to jump in this next section. So basically what we've been doing, if we can just have a look at the love bank on the next one there. Thanks. So what we've been talking about is putting deposits into the love bank through emotional needs, those emotional needs that you identified, hopefully. And now we're talking about things about love bank withdrawals. So here's the deal. If you can't put enough love deposits in the top, if there's all those withdrawals happening at the same time, you can't possibly. In fact, it's something like 5 to 1, I think. It's something like that, where you actually have to do 5 emotional need deposits to every withdrawal that goes out there. And we're going to talk about the withdrawals, and we're calling them love busters. Okay, just so you understand. And they're the holes in the bottom of the love bank that seep or drip out or leak. The plumber will know about all leaks. And so you can't keep up with those leaks. If they're there, you have to deal with them. And so this is the sort of the negative part of this, that we have to try and get rid of those withdrawals out of the love bank so that we understand what the emotional needs are that go in as deposits and get rid of the withdrawals out of the love bank. Is that good? All good? Okay. So we're going to talk about, I think it's about 6 love busters. And with this, you'll understand once we start to describe some of these, whether they're in your relationship or not. So just think about these.
Can I just add, love busters is something your partner does in your relationship that withdraws love from your tank. It's not necessarily what you do. So be thinking when we're talking, is that something that, oh yeah, he does that or she does that, and I don't like it when she does that, okay? So you're looking at what the other person's doing, whereas emotional needs is more about what you need, okay? Understand that? Okay.
And the ideal is that we get rid of all those love busters out of a relationship. You know, they might be minute after a while, and we've done this obviously every year since 2003, sometimes a couple of times a year. So every time we've done a group, we've done it ourselves as well. So now we find it hard to work out any of these that we can identify in each other. But there was big ones there in the early days, can I tell you? So it's a good thing, by the way. So when you put those love deposits in, that makes a lot of difference these days because there's not all the negatives coming out. Okay, so the first one we're talking about here as a love buster is selfish demands. And it's... and this is harsh language in some ways, because we think of selfish demands, oh, that's okay, you're just being a little selfish. It's one of the more controlling and abusive instincts, particularly in marriage, is making demands on our partner that our partner isn't happy to comply with. And it's a request for something you want or need, and if that request is turned down, it sometimes can end up being manipulation or more forceful in our approach of, no, you don't understand, you have to do this. And often the demands carry a threat of punishment if you don't. And I think we've all been there from time to time. You turn me down on this and you'll be sorry. That type of attitude. And it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And here's the other thing. When we make those selfish demands, very often we make those demands without any seeming to care what the other people, our partner, are feeling in that. So we'll make those demands without empathy for how that makes our partner feel. Demands also depend on power. And whoever has the power in the marriage, ideally they utilise that power to get their own needs met. And so it's not a healthy way to approach this at all, because often there's punishment attached to it. So it might be, I really want this thing to buy. I want to buy this thing for our house. Yeah, but we haven't got the budget at the moment. Yeah, but I really want it. I need it now. No, we haven't got the budget for it. Well, if you don't do that, I'm not going to talk to you for the next week. Like that type of thing, that selfish demand, which ends up being in negative, worked in a negative way. And we can all lean that way because we're all selfish in some area of our life, one way or another. And
I think what happens with selfish demands, there's a power struggle going on. And in any marriage, the power should be equal. There should never be one partner has the power and the other one doesn't. But when you start demanding things, the power is shifting. And what happens is often when there's a threat, the other partner just will arc back, and there you get this intimidation thing going on. And that's so unhealthy, isn't it, in a relationship?
And your partner may eventually concede and allow reluctantly for that demand to happen, but it's always reluctant, and there's always negative consequences because of that. And there can be a temptation to try and get even then in that process, trying to even the books. And it really is, if you really cut away all that self need, it actually is controlling and manipulation. It's the first step into that realm in a relationship. So a better alternative is thoughtful requests. And it's like trying to work out the win-win in a situation. And it might be as simple as explaining more around your request, your thoughtful request. How you makes you feel by fulfilling that request, what that means to you, why that is so important to you. Because then you get empathy from your partner, and it's not a selfish demand. It's like, no, I just would really like it if this could happen somehow. And it's a thoughtful request, a whole different way of framing that. Therefore, ends up being a love buster. It can actually be quite a positive thing because you get an empathy for your partner in the process of that. It's sort of part of that negotiation. The next level of that is disrespectful judgments. And when requests don't get their own way and they don't get their own wants, it can end up being, we can actually start to try to possibly, and this is not everyone of course, but it can go into this space where we will try to drag down our partner to get even with them almost. And we try to force, a negative, oh, don't be so stupid, or, it's one of those things that we try to straighten out our spouse in an effort to get our own way. And I don't know if you've seen this or been a part of that, but it's so awful. Like it just demeans people. It tries to drag them down. It tries to impose our beliefs or our values on another person, and often it's probably the first step before physical abuse sometimes in a relationship as well. So it seems like sarcasm. It can be connected to sarcasm and joking and at your spouse's expense, and it's just not healthy in a relationship. It can't build that love bank when there's those sorts of things going on, because often it's a way of trying to get your own way in the process of it. And it's just not healthy at all, because they make significant withdrawals from the love bank. They are huge gaping holes in the love bank when you do that sort of stuff.
As do angry outbursts, which is the next one. They're all kind of linked. I think if you don't get that first one by demanding and then the disrespect, the next thing is anger. And I know this one pretty well because in our early days of our marriage, I was quite angry. I think sometimes angry outbursts, for me, I think I was just learning from my parents. They had a great marriage, but there was angry outbursts in their marriage, and I think that's how I learnt that's how you dealt with conflict. You just shouted it out basically, and I would do that in the early days. I would be on for a fight all the time, but
all the time.
And when you're angry, you don't really care about what's happening to the other person. It's all about you. And, dumping basically all your stuff on the other person. And when we first did this, Greg identified that in me, that the angry outbursts were an issue. But it wasn't only just the angry outbursts with me. They often, funnily enough, they weren't even aimed at him. And they were aimed at the kids. This was when the kids were younger. And I had four young ones, and they drive me nuts. And I'd just start shouting, as some of us do as parents. And he, watching on, funnily enough, the angry outbursts detracted from his love bank, and they weren't even aimed at him. Now, isn't that weird? Just the anger and the way I was doing it was a bit of a love buster, wasn't it? So I had to
And often in anger, there'd be all sorts of accusations and threats to the kids. There was no way I was going to back her up. I wouldn't say that to the kids, of course, but it's like, you can't do that. You can't threaten that. I can't back you on that. It's just, that's stupid. Like, it was just, so it was an interesting...
It's just dumb habits that you get yourself into that sometimes you're not even aware of unless your partner actually says it's really ugly when you do that. So I had to then look at why I did that and tone it all back, which I have been able to do. And as we've got older, we've mellowed a little bit. But don't let angry outbursts get in the way of a relationship. It's not good. It hurts the other person when you shout and say things you don't really mean to. You need to learn to keep it in check. And if you do have an anger issue, one of you, you can get anger management. And they often teach you how... I didn't go to anger management, but there are ways of curbing your anger. Things like just learning to walk away. With one of our kids, she was quite feisty, and I would rise up. She'd be on for a fight, and then I'd be on for a fight. And it'd be like, okay, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. But it was just exhausting. So Greg just said, "What? Yeah, I don't know why you do it. Why don't you just walk away?" So I'd walk away, and she'd be there still trying to have a bit of a wordy fight, wouldn't she? But you can't really get angry if someone walks away from you. Or I had to learn to count to 10 before I said anything. And by the time you do that, by the first word that comes out of your mouth is not usually as harsh as if you just like a volcano and let fly. So just be careful of those angry outbursts, hey? Another one is annoying habits. Now, this can be a bit of a funny one because you think, oh, yeah, everybody does things that annoy you. And we all do. And often it doesn't even bother you. But sometimes we have habits that drive you nuts. And if there is something about your partner that is really, really annoying to you, you need to be able to tell them and say, hey, it really bugs me. When you pick your nose or whatever it is you do, they might burp, I don't know, whatever it is. It could be anything, couldn't it? Absolutely anything. But if it bothers you enough to say it really bothers me, would you stop doing it? As a partner, you should realise that if this is affecting the love between you, you should be able to curb it.
The angry outburst might be like a fire hose, whereas the annoying habits are more like a drip of a tap, you know. It's just like drip, drip, and it just is annoying, you know. And it's not in your face and knock you over, but it's like, oh gosh, I wish you'd stop that. So,
and so you don't go nitpicking every little thing, but if there, honestly, when you think about your relationship, and if there is something there that has been bothering you for a long time, speak about it and see what you can do about it.
What we're doing is trying to give you understanding and clarity so that you can articulate this with your partner. Because very often it's very difficult to discuss these things in a relationship. You know, very often you're tired or you're busy or you're not focused on that. And it's like this gives you some tools and some ways that you can address those things with your partner in a way that is respectful and considered and you know, not doesn't get people really defensive in the process. So that's what we're trying to do, is give you some understanding of these negative consequences, and therefore you can start to work out, well, let's get those out of our relationship. Let's get them out of the way. So therefore the love bank or the deposits make the most difference.
These other ones, the first three are the big ones because they can be quite abusive, can't they? And I think they're the most damaging, but these other ones are just those smaller ones that can erode things. Independent behaviour is another one. Once you're married, you know, you really do need to spend time together, but some people often get married and then they live as if they're a single person and spending their life doing all their things on their own. That can be quite a big love buster. You can imagine, well, how do you get those deposits in if you're doing all your own things? So just be very careful of that behaviour that spends a lot of time on your own, doing your own thing rather than as a couple.
So independent behaviour is sort of saying that we're ignoring the feelings or the interests of our spouse. So it's important, we've all got things we do on our own, spending time by ourselves or our own interests, of course. That's really important. But it's important we don't do everything on our own and have no common interests in the process, because that is independent behaviour. And you don't need to be married, like, to be truthful. But if you can spend time together doing some stuff, it actually builds that, the love bank in that process. So dishonesty is another one that is a huge one. And it's also, honesty is a emotional need, but dishonesty is a love buster. It's a withdrawal. And so it's just one of those things that we talk about that in a way that, we need to be honest in every area of our life. Complete radical honesty they talk about. And basically it's honesty in our historical honesty. So, and you choose to do this or not. I'm not saying you do. But truly a lie the darkness that is there because of a lie that's been covered up can create all sorts of space for other things, negative things to grow. And so it's just, I think we've come to the conclusion, it's complete honesty in everything, in every part of our life. The stuff we're ashamed of, the stuff we like. It's actually trying to get that out, everything out in the light, so there's no darkness there. It's complete honesty in that process. And so basically the honesty is broken into different areas, and we'll talk about that in a minute, don't we? So
Can you just move on a couple of screens? I think I've got a few things here. Gareth can move on. Oh no, no, must be later on. That's all right. Okay, we'll talk about that when they come up. Okay, so what we're going to get you to do is, like you did before, go find your little spot as a couple. And we're going to leave those up on the screen. They're written down the bottom here, the love busters. What we want you to do is, remember, identify, if you can, if there's anything, there might not be anything, but identify something that in your partner, if there's some anger, some judgments, any of those things we talked about, that is evident in your relationship. And now it's a bit tricky. So there is a screen. Where's the... sharing with judgment.
Just before this one. Can you go back? Oh, no. Try again. No, okay. Mate, there's a screen there with...
Sharing without judgment, it's called. There it is. There we go. So what happens is sometimes when you want to talk to each other, and it can be a bit prickly. Sometimes, now we're talking about some of the stuff, I don't know how I'm going to say this. There's just a couple of rules we like to tell people about. So this is how you share together. Allow your partner to be honest with you. You don't have to like what you hear, but if in any way you punish your spouse for being honest, it's likely that all honesty will disappear. Remember, this is true for them. This is how they feel in your relationship, okay? Refuse to attack, belittle, or become distant when your mate shares with you. As soon as you start to rise up and attack or defend, it will shut your partner down, okay? Do not interrupt. Reply in a normal tone of voice. Try not to get angry. Accept that what your spouse tells you is his or her reality, and look for the win-win. So honestly, you may not be able to do this tonight, but if you can nut some of this stuff out and really get honest and bring it out, it makes such a big difference, doesn't it? So try not to be defensive, just try to be kind to one another and say, look, when you do this, I really do feel that, it does affect me and I don't like it. Blah,
So
blah, blah.
remember the goal here. We're trying to work out what makes us feel loved, which we talked about in the first session. This is what makes us feel unloved, I guess. It takes withdrawals from our love bank. And so now we're trying to identify those things as we try to identify what makes us feel loved. This is what makes us not feel loved. And we're trying to block up those holes. So therefore, when we do the emotional needs and love deposits, it actually makes a more difference than it possibly can while there's those negative things in operation. Now, it could quite well be that you've got nothing in that that you don't need to do with anything. But if you don't want to dig for stuff that's not there, of course. So don't try too hard in this. But here's the platform you've got to be honest with your partner in a way that you can articulate it, that helps them understand what makes you feel unloved or withdraws love from your love bank, and in a respectful way, of course. And articulate that, because there's been some pretty significant areas there we've talked about, and that probably covers the majority of them. They'll fit into some of those. But it's an opportunity to even deal with the annoying habits that you go, yeah, well, look, I've never known ever to say anything about this, but gosh, when you do that, it drives me crazy. Like, do you think there's any way we could somehow work a way not to do that anymore? And so can you understand what this is all about? It's trying to clog up those holes, trying to block up those holes so the love bank is intact and we make the most difference. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is just to go into your couples just for 10 minutes, try and identify the thing that your partner does that really withdraws from your love bank. Does that make sense? And talk about that between you. You're not going to probably resolve very much tonight, but work out what that might be and go from there. Okay? With any of this stuff, please, we're here to help you out in the next 4 weeks anyway. So, we can help you get unlocked if you get stuck, because you can get stuck in this stuff. I understand that, but I would urge you, if you say haven't got the book or you haven't got someone, most of the leadership in our church have done this course. They're all aware of the concepts. They can help you in that area, even if we're not necessarily around. But these are so crucial. Working out how we feel loved, working out the things that are making us feel unloved. Dealing with those two things are huge. They're two really big, chunky concepts. And to do it in an hour or two here tonight is in some ways a little unfair. But at the same time, it's a catalyst for you to go, okay, there is some stuff we need to deal with. There's some stuff we need to work out. There's some stuff we need to communicate, to articulate, so we can get better in this marriage. Because, look, we did married life for nearly 20 years without much input into our marriage at all. Now, we survived, but only just. Like, we have 4 kids and businesses and stresses and then ministry, and it was like, oh gosh, this is hard trying to keep this all in balance. And this, we felt, brought some great balance to our relationship. We were able to address things that we never were able to address before in a way that was respectful without being demeaning or condescending or any of those things, or too critical, and people getting defensive. So this can help you if you keep an open heart and mind and keep working through this stuff. It really can help get those big chunks out of the way so you can start to do good work in that place. So well done for hanging in there so far tonight. I can see some serious faces in here, and it's like, oh gosh. But if you get stuck, please contact us. We'll help you get unstuck. We can help you do that. So Robin.
Just gets a bit lighter from here on anyway. I'm going to throw a few other things at you, if you could move the screen along. I like to throw this one in because I think understanding your unique self is so important in a relationship. Often we are attracted to someone that's very different to us, and those differences in the beginning are really attractive. But as time goes on, sometimes those differences can absolutely drive you nuts. And you have to learn to understand yourself, how you tick, and how the other person ticks. And invariably in most couples, we find there's an introvert and there's an extrovert in there somewhere. Often how we process our thinking is different. Some of us are external processors. We like to talk it out. And others of us, that's like me, and Greg's an internal processor. The cogs just tick, and he just keeps it all into himself. So it used to drive me crazy because we're just very different. I just want to keep talking it while I work it through. But once you understand that you're different, there's no right or wrong. You're just different, and you understand that. And the differences bring something special to the relationship. I think they bring a nice balance. What else have I got up there? And sometimes thinkers and feelers is another way of describing how we can be different. Some of us think our way through life, think through decisions, think through things before we will commit, and others just feel their way through life. Absolutely wear their heart on their sleeve, and we're just very different. And I think in most relationships you'll find that you're pretty different. But there's a little clip here I want to show you because it's just really funny and it makes you laugh, and I just love it. Can we put the cockatoos up there? Thanks. I love the other one. So which one's you? I'd be definitely the one singing and dancing, and I love the little one. It just keeps getting further and further over. So just appreciate the difference in your partnership and bring out the best in each other, even though you are different.
The cockatoo that's dancing, he keeps just looking, legs going like this, and the other one's just going, in fact, he puts up its paw at one stage, pushes him away. So.
It's quite a long clip, that one. Here it goes. Get away from me, get away from me. But we can be a bit like that in relationships, can't we? Very different. So appreciate your differences.
Yes. So these are some lighter sections. All that, no, they're not. I shouldn't say that. But they're just the big chunky ones are the two first that we did. This one is called Complete Radical Honesty, really, and it's what we talked about in those Love Busters before. Basically, we believe you should have complete honesty in our relationships, complete honesty. While there's any darkness there, while there's any shadow, it's very difficult for that relationship to stay intact with good communication. And so there's different levels of honesty we talk about. Emotional honesty, that means how we're feeling. So there needs to be a place for that emotional honesty. Historical honesty, that is in our life before we met or even in our current relationship, there might be some stuff that needs to be dealt with. I can tell you from personal experience with a particular guy, so we've done this a lot over the years, and there's a group that, multiple groups, but at least one group that happened in Maitland. And one day I was at soccer and this guy came up and he said, "Oh, you're Greg McEwen." I said, "Yeah." I thought, "Oh, do I say yes or no?" Because you never know whether to admit who you are. But, we just played them and he said, "You're Greg McEwen." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, you saved my marriage." And I said, "No, I didn't save your marriage. Like, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, we did the Fall in Love, Stay in Love stuff. And it highlighted some things in my past that I confessed up to my wife. And if I hadn't confessed them, I know it would have eaten me away and would have made our relationship impossible for the future." And he said it made it possible to come clean on this stuff. Therefore, it was like a clean slate. It wasn't easy, but once I did it, it just made all the difference. We now are much stronger in our relationships. It was like that historical honesty can affect, even though it's from days gone past, it can affect our now because it's still eating away at us. So, and I'm not saying there's anything necessary in this room that you should be confessing, but it's one of the things we need to consider. Emotional honesty, historical honesty, current honesty, like really is important that you are honest with your partner every day, every single day, come clean every single day. And then future honesty talks about the future, about your plans for the future. You can't have plans in your future without including your partner in those plans. You can't spring, well, guess what? We're selling up and taking off to here. You go, well, hang on, we haven't talked about this. Like, you can't spring that on me and expect me to go with that. So you've actually got to have some honesty about what you're thinking about for the future, what you'd like to achieve for your relationship or your family or financially or in business or whatever realm you're in, and have that. When there's two of us connected and going into bat for that, it makes so much difference. It's so much stronger, so much unity in there, which is so much stronger because of that. And, financial honesty would be one of those areas as well, that you are honest with your finances with each other. There's no hidden stuff, that you're up front, that you don't try and hide, "Oh, I bought this and I didn't tell him about it," or I spent money here and didn't tell her. And it's like, no, be honest. What do you got to hide? Why would you hide? Why would you lie and potentially get caught out and undermine that relationship with that? just be honest up front, you know. And so pretty much that's what it's all about. It's being honest in our relationships. And again, there's questionnaires that you can do to help identify those things if you get stuck with this stuff. But there's a screen next, I think, Gareth, that is one area that mobile phone has become, you know, a bit of an issue with a lot of couples. And so here's some rules, I guess, for mobile phone use and marriage. Don't spend more time on your phone than you should. Do communicate with your spouse with your phone. Don't use your phone to hide things from your spouse. Do use your phone to check in with one another. Don't charge your mobile phone every day and forget to charge your marriage. Do use your phone to flirt and have fun with your spouse. And, you know, because the truth is these things, like, we know each other's passwords. We know she can have access to my phone anytime and I can have access to her phone anytime. Like, there's no secrets in that place. There's nothing hidden. It's an open book, and we believe that's the way it should be, particularly in this age of, you know, everyone's on their phones all the time. Here's another screen, the one if that's helpful as well, I think, Gareth. Yep. Telling your spouse where you are, who you are with, and what time you'll be home is not being controlled. It's called showing respect. You know, sometimes we can get so out of shape with this stuff. Well, what do I have to tell you everyone? Well, what do you got to hide? Like, why wouldn't you tell your partner where you're going to be, what you're doing, who you're doing it with? Why would you want to hide that stuff? It suggests there might be something that is hidden in that place. So why would you do it? Bring it into the light. Be up front. You know, we talk about what we're up to. Where are you going today? Not because it's controlling. It's just like, if you're in Newcastle, I just want to know that you're in Newcastle, because if something happens, I'm not, oh, is she in Newcastle? I didn't know she was there. Like, it's just important that we communicate that stuff with each other, not to control them, just out of a sign of respect. So that's pretty much the honesty one done there. The next area is the time. Do you want to start on this one?
Okay, if we could move to the next one, that'd be great. Dr. Willard Harley, he's the guy that writes all this material. He sees hundreds of couples, and he finds one of the biggest things, biggest problems in marriage is that couples do not spend enough time together. They just don't. Life just overtakes people, especially young families, busy, you know, each partner's working, they got kids, mortgages, all the rest of it, and the last thing they do is put any time into their marriage. So good on you guys for making time tonight to come out. But so he has this very radical idea, and he says to couples when they come to him, they have to, at a minimum, allow 15 hours together to restore their marriage. Now, 15 hours, you think, oh my gosh, 15 hours, that's a lot of time. It is and it isn't. It's amazing how you can find time when you start to prioritise your relationship. And even if you can't get 15 hours, if you can get a couple of hours a week, which is more than what you're currently doing. So what we suggest to people is once a week, maybe on a weekend or something, get together with your diaries, open up your diaries, look at the week ahead, put time for you guys in there first. And this is the radical part about it, because what you tend to do is put everything else down. What have you got on this week? I've got to do this, I've got to go there, da-da-da. And then you tend to put, oh, well, when could we go out? We're flipping it and we're saying, you put your things first, put yourself, you're here, and then pack the other things around it. And what that's doing is prioritising your relationship on top of everything else. So I don't think we get too caught up with the 15-hour thing. All it is just challenging your mindset to go, oh, wow, you know, it is important to sow some time into our relationship. And what he says is, in those hours, the 15 hours or whatever, then you use that time to meet the emotional needs. So if it's conversation, if it's affection, you spend those couple of hours doing things, recreational companionship, do those things that going to... sex, whatever it is, whatever is going to fill that love tank.
Here you go for 15 hours, though. 14 and a half hours, maybe. But
young ones, maybe.
So it's an important one. And look, what you do is work out time together. And if you get a few more hours a week together, that's a benefit, isn't it? And if you can work out a way to get more hours together, that's a benefit. So he won't even talk to anyone unless they commit to doing 15 hours together from the start. And they go, well, yeah, but I've got work and I've got to do this and I've got family. Well, you're not really serious about it then, are you? And it's like sobering to them because they go, really? Like, you won't even counsel? No, I won't. Not unless you commit to doing that together. And so that's that important as far, because he recognises that when couples go on holidays, I mean, the first few days can be a bit rocky, I guess, but once they spend time together, they fall in love again because they're just together and they're having fun, and there's no all those pressures are gone, and they're just enjoying each other's company. And he recognised that in that place, very often, the big, real sense of love, in that. So he identified that as one of the things that we need to do better. Okay, so
there's a screen here, Secrets of Happy Couples.
Yep.
You got that one there? I'll read it from here. Secrets of Happy Couples. They recognise and respond to each other's bids for attention. They prioritise intimacy and sex. They show interest in each other's worlds by asking questions. They support each other's growth and learning of new things. They see problems as joint problems to be solved. They're a nice few things, aren't they? Doing it together. Yep.
So this is pretty much rounding up. We've got an exercise for you to do at the end, but we'll just summarise what we tried to communicate here tonight. So I know there's been a lot thrown at you, and I recognise that this can be hard to grasp on where you're meant to be focusing. But the reason we do this is, there's that idea of love and cherish, and that's a commitment of care. And so the first commitment there is to commit to being your spouse's primary source of happiness, to meet their most important emotional need. Because we can so easy be our spouse's most important place of unhappiness as well. So easily transfer into that place without even, don't even have to change very much sometimes, and we can do that. So it's actually a commitment of care for our partner that will be the primary source of happiness in their life. We want the best for our partner, right? In a relationship, we're in one flesh relationship, and you want the best for your partner because that helps you be better as well. To having to hold the commitment of protection, I commit to avoid being the source of your spouse's unhappiness and avoid love busters. So it's a commitment to go, if it's just that little annoying thing that I do, I click my fingernails or whatever, and that drives her crazy, I'm going to try and work out a way not to do that anymore. Not because it worries me, because it worries her. And if it worries her, that means it's taking love out of her love bank. And I'm going to try and work out a way to do that. Now, it takes ages to change habits. So you've got to work at it, but it's a commitment. For better and for worse, the commitment of honesty. I commit to be honest with you radically, completely, every day. Honesty, not just when it suits me, not when it's convenient. No, always, all the time. Forsaking all others, commitment of time. I commit to take time to give you my undivided attention, to put you first in our lives, not second or third or fifth or 10th, put you first. And that way she knows that I care for her, and I'm committed that time is a commitment together in this place. And so they're the 4 areas that we've sort of covered in a way that you probably didn't even realise we were. We've got lots of resource and stuff, but basically they're the big chunky bits of this stuff. There's 10 concepts that we cover in our Fall in Love, Stay in Love, but they're the big ones that we try to cover and get the most traction with. If you can get traction in those areas, the others very often will take care of themselves. So, yeah.
Okay, this is one of our fun exercises we love doing. So just move so you just got some privacy again, and sit very close together. You can hold hands or you can touch your knees together,
It'd be
whatever.
nice to be knee to knee. So if you can just turn the chairs around so you're facing each other.
Facing each other's nice, actually. So you're looking at each other while you're talking. But we're going to be giving you the script. Okay, so that's it. Get a little bit romantic if you want. Jane, you can just hug yourself. That's it, all nice and comfy. Oh, perfect. Look at you guys, so obedient. Not all the chairs move, Pete. They might be stuck. That's it. That's the way.
Okay. So men, this is you're the first ones in this, okay? And what I want you to do is to tell your partner, these are the reasons I love you. These are the reasons I love you. I want you to start to get creative, start to think about it, just start to speak that into your relationship. These are the reasons why I love you. Go. Okay, ladies, you can't say anything back. You just have to say thank you, okay? Don't respond. Just let him say, these are the reasons I love you. Okay. Let me tell you what I like about you. Men, keep going. Let me tell you what I like about you. Come on, it's a challenge. Just tell her what you like about her. Okay. Well done, guys. All right, ladies, your turn. These are the reasons why I love you. These are the reasons why I love you. Start to speak that into him. Okay, ladies, keep going. Let me tell you what I like about you. Let me tell you what I like about you. Okay, well done, you guys. It's awesome. You can see why we do the blokes first, because if the blokes realised they had to talk for that long, say that much, they'd freak out. So, but well done. It seemed like most of you kept moving through all that, which is great. Let me pray. We're finished. Let me pray for you as couples, and we'll let you get out of here. Just grab your partner's hand if you haven't already got it. Father, we thank you, God, for relationships. We thank you for marriage, God. We thank you that this is your idea, and the man and wife joined together, and for the rest of their life here on earth. So, God, we thank you that we've got an opportunity to help make our relationships even better. And God, we want to give you honour and glory with our relationships, with our marriages, with our commitment to each other that represents that to our families and to people around us, friends, and because God, relationships are under so much pressure. There's so much pressure for couples and marriage, and so God, we just thank you that there are things like this that can help us in our relationship, God, in our marriage relationship. And Father, we pray that you are in the center of all that, God. That makes us stronger. That's that three-strand strength that the Bible talks about. And that, God, that we are designed to be in relationship with our partners, and God, with you in the middle of that. And God, we want to give you honour and glory. God, I pray for your protection, your provision, your blessing and favour over every single marriage in our church, God, every single marriage here tonight, every relationship here tonight, God. But God, we pray for strengthened relationships throughout our region, through our community, through our nation, God, because really that's the enemy's trying to undermine all that. And so, God, we want to make relationships even stronger in these coming days and give you all the glory in that. Pray that in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen. Hey, guys, thanks for giving up your Wednesday night. That's such a great thing to do. Thanks for sowing into your marriage. Thanks for being here and being attentive. And as we've said before, there's the books there if you want to get a book. And if you get stuck, please give us a call and we'll see if we can unstick you as best we can. So.